Earlier this year, I became a dad for the first time. It wasn't a planned pregnancy, so I had to adapt very quickly to my new reality and figure out how the hell I was going to strike a balance between my work, social life, relationship, and fitness, whilst ultimately wanting to just be the best dad that I can be. And I can't lie, that has been a huge challenge, but I've learned a lot along the way I want to share with you. So in this first episode, I'm going to start at the beginning and share the 10 most impactful things that I did before my daughter was born that meant we had a really positive birth experience. Let's get into it. Number 1, declutter your home. I cannot express to you guys how quickly you can go from a clean and tidy home to it being a complete bomb site once the little one arrives. And so the less stuff you've got lying around in cupboards, in drawers that you actually don't need or don't use, the better, because when you lose that dummy, when you're trying to find one of her bits of clothing or whatever, the more clutter there is, the harder it is. So declutter, organize all your stuff. I did this with all of my supplements and seeds and oats and protein powders and stuff. I've got them in all these containers now labeled in the cupboard, just so that when I need something, it's really obvious where it is. I can go with one hand if I'm holding her. It's also really helpful to declutter because you're going to need some more space. She might be small, but this little one needs quite a lot of things. Clothes, nappies, wipes, and the rest. And so you're going to need to free up some space. And we live in London in not the biggest of flats, so every bit of space really counts. What I did in the months leading up to her birth was I went through my whole wardrobe, anything that I don't love or really value on Vinted. I made some extra money, which then helped the kind of financial period around the birth, because there's quite a few expenses you have to make, but it also just freed up loads of space. So I've got some drawers over here, which normally I had all the drawers with my stuff in, and I've halved it, and her stuff is in half the drawers, my stuff's in the other half. Number 2, fill your freezer. You do not have time to be cooking meals when the baby arrives. So the best thing you can do is fill the freezer with meal prep. I really recommend getting if your freezer's not that big like ours wasn't, get an external freezer and fill it up with meals. Best thing we did were like making individual chicken fajita wraps, for example, and freezing them individually so that when the baby arrives, you're time poor, you can just reach for it, stick it in the microwave, and you've got a meal really quickly. Bulk cooking, any other stuff, you know, chili con carnes, curries, like all that kind of big one pot food you can make. Make a huge batch, dish it up into different containers and have that ready to go. I'm so grateful we did that, because not only did it mean that we had the food available, quick and easy, and saved time on cooking, but we also saved money because we weren't getting Deliveroo and Uber Eats all the time, which can be really expensive. And it's also quite a nice thing because a lot of your friends or family might be asking, oh, what can we do to help, sort of thing. Cook for me, please. Yes. Number 3 is do your research. I read just 2 books during the pregnancy, but I'm so glad I did. I ended up reading Your Baby, Your Birth, which is all about hypnobirthing techniques, which can help to prepare for the birth. A lot of them are kind of like breathing techniques and ways of helping your partner to stay relaxed during the birth. And we actually practice some of them, like there's a massage you can kind of do for your partner. There's a breathing exercise you can learn to guide your partner with. I teach yoga in prison, so a lot of it was quite familiar to me. And if you're familiar with yoga, like it's nothing too far from that, the breathing techniques. But it's just really good to practice it before you get to the birthing place, because we did actually use these during the birth themselves. And my partner Whitney said that she found it really helpful, because during the birth, obviously you're not birthing the child, so your role is really to be the best support you possibly can. And a big part of that is helping your partner to stay relaxed. So really recommend that book. I also read a book called Matrescence, and that was so helpful for helping to just understand what Whitney was going through, but in terms of the pregnancy and the birth, not just like from a physical sense and the hormonal changes that occur, but just from like an identity sense, because it's just such a massive shift for her to go from being an individual woman to then having this alien growing inside her, kicking and, being in, you're the alien. It's just such a massive difference for her to go through, and the book really helps to give words to it. Actually, Whitney didn't end up reading the book, but because I did, I really felt like we were able to have a lot of really valuable conversations during the pregnancy and around the birth, which really helped both of us just understand what we were experiencing. Often the focus is on like the practical stuff of like, what type of birth are you going to have, or what's the kind of recovery process afterwards look like. Really important as well. But actually from a sense of what does this actually mean for who we are as parents, and what does this mean for your partner as a woman becoming a mother? That's really key. So yeah, would really recommend that. And we also signed up to antenatal classes during the pregnancy, which was helpful in the sense of it gave me more confidence. It gave me a bit more familiarity. It gave me a space to ask a midwife questions. And yeah, obviously like Claude, ChatGPT is really helpful for like fielding, all these questions. But to actually like be able to ask a midwife who's, got 20 years of experience delivering babies, all these questions, then that was super helpful. And you also get to meet a lot of really nice people who are also going through the same thing as you. Oh yeah, okay. Number 4 is simplify your life, because when the baby comes, basic stuff you used to do is just not going to be possible. Your time is going to be so squeezed, your ability to get out of the house and travel is going to be so limited. It's just so helpful to have made everything a little bit more local. So things I did, which I've been really grateful for, are like joining a gym that's closer to home. So the gym I'm going to now hasn't got the best equipment compared to the one I have been going to previous to the birth, but I can get there within just a few minutes. That's what I need because I've got less time to work out. And so yeah, saving that travel time, mad helpful, just makes your chances of success way bigger. I stopped shopping in person. We used to drive to the supermarket, and we're doing that far less now. And we also got a cleaner. I've certainly found since she's arrived that I'm doing a lot more domestic stuff already. So getting a cleaner to come every 2 weeks, just for a couple of hours, it helps out so much because you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be time poor. And for me, the trade-off of £50 to a cleaner every 2 weeks is so worth it, because it just, I don't know, I really value like having a space that feels clean and tidy. It just makes me feel like I've got my shit together. And I really enjoyed the fact that, for that first week at least after the cleaner's bin, it feels like everything, we've got some control over our life. Even though you are the real one in control. Number 5, get as much time off as you can. Now, I am now self-employed, which means that time off is kind of up to me. It felt a bit scary because a lot of the guys who were on our antenatal course, they were all in employment, and they had between like 2 weeks, which is crazy, paternity leave, and some got 6, 7, 8 months, which was amazing. But what I'd say is, this is the most insane, magical, challenging, but beautiful experience I've ever had in my life, and you don't want to miss it. I'm ambitious, I've got goals, I've got career goals, as does my wife Whitney, and certainly that's something that we've struggled with, that tension between wanting to be present parents but also keep pushing the career forwards. However, we both decided to just give ourselves as much time as we can to just be parents whilst also earning enough to survive. So I took a full month off, and then I'm now working part-time. So there are some days of the week where I have this little one to myself and Whitney goes and works. And then for the majority of the days, she's with her and I go to just a really local cafe and do work there. Working as efficiently as we can within the limited time we've got. But really, I would encourage you, don't work more than you have to for this first stage, because she changes so fast. She's already like doubled, tripled in size, it feels like. It's mad. And so really make the most of it, because it's such a special time, which you'll never get back. Number 6 is plan your route to the hospital. You'll probably be going to the hospital anyway for like appointments and stuff before, so you might, if you drive, have a sense of the route anyway. But for us, we were often taking a line bike to the hospital during pregnancy and stuff. So we wanted to make sure that we actually did the drive as well, and knew that when Whitney went into labour, exactly what the plan was going to be. One massive issue we've got here in London is parking. So we made sure that we knew where we could park and for how long, because labour could last, and this was news to me, labour could last a few days. I didn't know that before. I thought labour was like 12 hours max, to be honest, which is a bit embarrassing. But yeah, apparently labour can last for days and days. So you want to be able to park somewhere where you can stay for a while. Is that tasty? Yeah. Number 7 is pack the world's most comprehensive hospital bag. This will be like a big thing that people will say to you in the run up to the birth. They'll be like, have you packed the hospital bag yet? And you'll probably be asking AI, what's everything I should pack in a hospital bag? So I'm not here to like go through everything, but the most helpful things. I spoke to my wife, asked her what would be the best snacks you could have, what would be the best drinks you could have, and then I ordered them ahead in an online shop, and then I just dedicated one corner of the fridge to that stuff, and we just didn't touch it in the weeks that led up to the birth. And then I also had the bag with all the snacks in different compartments. I'd really recommend that, because when your wife's in labour or in the hospital, she's going to be out of it. You do not want to be asking her, oh babe, where's this, where's that? You should know. And what's going to really help you is having like those little compartments you can get, like the little kind of zip up ones. And often your partner might be the one packing the bag. So if she has packed the bag, go and chat to her and ask her where everything is and to take you through it, because you're going to need to know where something is quite quickly. I don't think she's going to have much patience for you if you're scrambling around. And ultimately what you're doing is just preparing for that time in hospital to be as magical as it possibly can be. So the more prepared you are with all that, the better. Number 8 is know the birth plan. Discuss it with your partner and advocate for them in the hospital. When they're going through birth, goes without saying, they are going through a lot. They are going to be stressed, they are going to be in pain, they are going to be uncomfortable, they are going to have possibly different drugs being put inside them to relieve the pain. Therefore, you're the guy who's there to think clearly, know the plan, and advocate on her behalf to the midwives and doctors. So as best you can, try to have a clear sense with her what you want this birth to look like. So if she said, for example, like, don't offer me an epidural, which is pain relief. If she doesn't want to be offered epidural, instead she wants to ask for an epidural. There's like a subtle difference, but it's important, because the doctor or the midwife might be pressuring her during the birth saying, do you want an epidural? We can get you an epidural. But if you are able to say to them, please don't offer her an epidural, she will let you know if she wants it. It just saves your wife the energy to have to constantly explain herself. So all those subtle things, talk through them with your partner so that during the birth, you are there, you know what she wants, you are her voice, you are her advocate, and you can make sure she has the best birth possible under the circumstances. And there's also fun bits to the birth plan, like the playlist. One of your big roles is going to be DJ. These are the sounds that are going to be playing when you have this once in a lifetime experience. So I'm so glad that we spent the time actually curating a playlist. It was also like fun to do, but curate the playlist so that when your child arrives into the world, this is the backdrop to what's going on, because it just kind of, I don't know, it made it so much more, what's the word, like epic, not romantic, just special. Yeah, it made it more special to have the songs that we wanted playing. We chose a Fleetwood Mac song. Which one was it? Anyway, and I forever associate that song with A Day's In Now, and it just like makes my heart melt. So yeah, enjoy, make a playlist and enjoy making it. Number 9, work on your weaknesses. So I don't know what they might be. We're all different guys, but for me, I'm hella squeamish. I cannot stand the sight of blood. I can't stand the sight of needles. I don't enjoy being in hospitals. I think part of that is because my dad passed away from cancer when I was in my early 20s, and so I had some like negative experiences in hospitals. When I see blood or I'm in a hospital, it gives me this horrible tingling feeling through my body, and weirdly gives me this like sensation in my balls, which I don't know what that's about, but hey. And I was like, I don't want to be a liability and end up fainting during the birth of my child. And I also don't want to have these uncomfortable feelings, really, you know, be present and enjoy it. Yours might be the same or very different to mine, but whatever it is you've got concerns about for yourself, address them. So what I did was I went to hypnotherapy to learn some techniques to deal with my squeamishness, and so glad I did, because I definitely applied them during the birth. It was funny actually, Whitney ended up having a C-section, and just before we went into the theatre, I was wearing the hospital scrubs they give you. And Whitney didn't tell me till afterwards, but apparently I was sweating all the way up the butt crack of my hospital scrubs. And then when we went into the theatre, I went and told the surgeon, by the way, I'm quite squeamish. And he said to me, he had quite a good sense of humour, but he was like, okay, you see that stool in the corner over there? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I want you to go and sit on that and face the wall during the birth of your child. And that just really sobered me up. And I was like, I am not doing that. That cannot be the way, I tell my child that I experienced her entering into the world. So I ended up actually applying the hypnotherapy techniques that I'd been learning weeks previously, running up to the birth with my therapist. And I was actually fine, actually all right in the end. If you are nervous about any element of that, you end up just naturally really focusing on your partner. Just kind of become absorbed in it, and I was actually amazed about how anxiety I had going into the theatre in hospital dissolved away as soon as they started speaking to Whitney and saying okay, we need you to sit still, we're going to put an injection into you and so on. So yeah, don't worry, you will be fine. Right, I'm going to do the final point now, and then we can finish and we can go and have a nice sleep. All right, ready? Great. And number 10, I'm going to call this planning the Last Supper. Make sure before your life changes forever, you and your partner plan some special time together. I cannot express how much things will change when the little one arrives. Certainly in the beginning, it's been our experience. And you just don't have time to go on a date or even just hang out and watch one of your programs, It's just really, really tricky because you're both focused on, keeping the little one alive and healthy. So what I'm so glad we did in the days before Whitney gave birth is we planned a day where we just did the things that we love to do. So we went on a walk in our local area, we went to the pub and sat in the garden and just had a drink, and then we went for our favourite meal, which is like a seafood boil. And it just was like a kind of celebration moment. You've gone through the whole pregnancy together. It's not always been easy, and it's time to celebrate that before you get lost in the kind of madness of the birth and newborn phase. And I'm so glad that we made space to actually spend that intentional time together, just reflecting on everything, our relationship, the pregnancy, everything that's gone before, and feeling like you're on the cusp of this whole new reality. And yeah, celebrate that, give yourself space for it, because I look back really fondly on that day. It feels like, the final day of my old life before I entered into this whole new one of becoming a dad. But I hope those tips were helpful. If you've got any others you've heard are good, put them in the comments so that other guys can see who are also in this boat, because I feel like it's up to this generation of dads to really bring each other through the experience of fatherhood, because I feel like we all want to kind of be a bit more present with our children than maybe the previous generations were able to be. But we also want to not lose ourselves in it, and we want to find balance in it and nurture things like our relationship with our partner or our own health and well-being, as well as being the best dad we can possibly be. So I hope this helps. I guess this is the point of the video where I say please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me, and I'm going to be sharing a lot more of this fatherhood journey. But yeah, from me and Little Squishy, all I can say at this stage is good luck, enjoy that birth. It is a mad, mad experience. You got this.